Each was a unique individual lost, with unique gifts and a promising future cut short. By the time the war ended, Japanese American families shared their sorrow with thousands of other grieving American families. And here in Washington, D.C., President Truman honored what remained of the 100th and the 442 with their 7th Presidential Unit Citation. But by then, there were many gaps in the ranks. The Nisei soldiers and their families had indeed paid a high price. After the war, other Americans of Japanese descent donned the uniform to fight America's war in other distant lands, in Korea, Vietnam, Afghanistan, and Iraq, following in the footsteps of the original Nisei soldiers. Since 1945, our country has honored the Nisei soldiers with military awards too many to count, from the Purple Heart all the way to the Medal of Honor, with monuments, with parades, with a postage stamp most recently, with Hollywood movies, museum exhibits, and a few years ago, the Congressional Gold Medal. But in my mind, the most meaningful tribute the nation can pay to each fallen soldier is a simple soldier's headstone in a place of honor, such as we see today. Arrayed in straight rows, like soldiers in formation, we can see each name, but together we also see them as a proud part of American history laid out before us. The Nisei soldiers who lie here today became part of that American story. They rest in the company of other loyal men and women who served before them, including other individuals of Japanese ancestry, such as the 7 Issei Seamen, whose names are inscribed on the USS Maine monument just uphill from us here. Those who died fighting for freedom in Korea and Vietnam. Those who fell in later conflicts. They are now part of what makes America, America. All Americans give them our heartfelt thanks for their service and their sacrifices. Their example of patriotism and valor is an inspiration to all Americans who continue to defend our freedoms in the face of whoever threatens our nation or seeks to divide us, to defend this great nation from all enemies, foreign and domestic. I'd like to close with the words of Senator Matsunaga, who spoke at a ceremony here at Arlington National Cemetery in 1963, when he was just a congressman from Hawaii. He said, "If the living, the beneficiaries of their sacrifices, are truly intent upon showing our gratitude, we must do more than gather together for speech-making and perfunctory ceremonies. We must undertake to carry on the unfinished work which they so nobly advanced. The fight against prejudice is not confined to the battlefield alone. It is still here and now with us." Senator Matsunaga is just one inspiring example of what it means to lead a life of service and to defend our freedoms in adversity. Thank you for coming this morning, and thank you for letting me share my thoughts with you. Thank you very much.
Gerald, Linda, Alex, John, please come up. Dr. Gerald.
Well, first of all, Jim, thank you for your presentation and sharing your wealth of information. Let's give him another round of applause. On behalf of the sponsoring organizations, we thank you for your presentation, Jim. And in commemoration, we'd like to present you with this image of the Pilgrim Road stamp that was issued last year.
Thank you, Dr. McNaughton, of the wonderful speech. At this time, we have a special tribute for our guest of honor this year, Colonel Jimmy Kanaya. I'd like to introduce Lieutenant Colonel Mark Nakagawa, U.S. Army retired.
Good morning. I got a tough act to follow. First, young Mr. Krulak, Dr. McNaughton. There's a reason why he's a doctor of history. And then you got me. Well, Janice, Linda, Lynn, Lily, Alex, John, Gerald, Minister I, and all the other folks you brought from the embassy. There's a lot of dignitaries, friends, and families that I haven't seen in over 2 years because this has been a virtual ceremony. It's great to see this ceremony without all this participation. Lynn, I'm going to try my darndest, and I'm not going to screw up this tribute, this honor tribute to Colonel Jimmy Kanaya. So please bear with me if I do. See, I already screwed up there. Colonel Jimmy Kanaya, U.S. Army retired, was born on October 3rd, 1920 in Oregon, and became a three-war, highly decorated veteran, serving a total of 34 years. Think about it, 3 wars. When asked about his medals and decorations, Jimmy would say, I was only doing my job. Yet his actions on the battlefield belie his modesty. He was a medic for the infamous 442nd Regimental Combat Team that we all hear about. He was awarded a Silver Star for evacuating wounded in Italy and received a Battlefield Commission. That's when he was an enlisted soldier, and because of his gallantry, he was awarded, became an officer for his gallantry and valor against enemy. For a sole evacuation of the mortally wounded platoon sergeant, he was also awarded another Bronze Star with a deep valor for victory over these clusters, as well as combat medical badge. For an infantryman, he earned the combat infantryman badge. For the medic, he earned the combat medical badge. So that's a good honor in itself. Bronze Star inscription in the back of the Bronze Star are the following words: for meritorious and enduring achievement. His Purple Heart was burned in the Volks Mountain of France for being wounded in combat, and this is where he was also captured as prisoner of war. He spent most of his time during the war as a POW in Szubin, Poland, a camp for army officers where he was ruthlessly interrogated. In January of 1945, ahead of the Allied advance, the POWs were marched from Poland to another place close to Hammelburg, Germany. During this brutal 45-day march, there was no stopping. There was very little food, and there were no supplies. Jimmy witnessed arms, legs, body parts sticking out from snow. Boots, gloves, anything to keep warm were taken from dead soldiers along the way. Jimmy suffered frostbite and neuropathy in his lower extremities. He remained a POW, a prisoner of war, until the end of the war, much like the Kanaya family that were interned in the Minidoka Relocation Center in Idaho until the end of the war. At the end of the war, Jimmy still continued service in the Army. He was part of the Military Intelligence Service during the occupation of Japan, where he worked as a translator and interrogator at the Far East Command in Tokyo. Subsequently, during the Korean War, he was attached to the Allied Translator Interrogator Section, 8th Army, and the United Nations Command in Korea. And in July of 1962, he was attached